Tennessee town approves deals to turn closed prison into an immigration detention facility. Every time I turn around, something is happening in Tennessee that, coming from Washington State, always looks like it's going in the right direction. Now, you might say, well, Sean, those prisons, they should be prisons. Well, yeah, but right now we got the immigration issue to deal with. Detention facilities, here we go. Let's talk about it. Before we go any further, where exactly is Mason, Tennessee? It's right here. Got Memphis right here. So just to the north and east of downtown Memphis. All right. Surprised they closed down a prison. Must have been a funding issue. But hey, we are going to watch this video here.
Fox 13 News at 10 starts now with breaking news.
Oh, hey.
An ICE detention facility will open in former prison facilities in Mason. The city attorney and CoreCivic confirmed both the ICE contracts vote passed at that meeting tonight.
Activists getting kicked out.
The agreement has already been signed. Fox 13's Jack Billiou joining us live from Mason, where that meeting recently wrapped up. And Jack, not before it got very heated.
Yeah, I have been at some messy government meetings in my day, but I have never seen anything like this before. For much of the meeting, it turned into a shouting match. Anytime an alderman or the mayor would make a comment, they would open it up for someone to basically come up and argue with them.
Sounds like tiff-tiff. Out of control tiff-tiff, which there's still no major updates on that. It's like, what's the FBI doing? Don't know. Here we go.
Those discussions went off the rails and turned into arguments over things like the quality of the streets around the city. Now, again, this all hinges around a closed private prison in Mason, Tennessee, operated by CoreCivic. Tonight, the city agreed to a contract with CoreCivic to continue running that prison and a contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to put detained immigrants in there. Here is what one alderman who voted in favor of keeping the prison open but abstained from the vote to put migrants there had to say about his decision.
I voted yes for CoreCivic, and I really had to do some soul searching and step back on the second one. For ICE, I had to abstain.
You abstained?
I abstained.
We've had over 2,100 people from this area that have applied for jobs. To me, that says a lot about the hole that was left in the community when the contract ended in 2021.
So you've got an economic need in the form of jobs that went away to a small town, small city, that if they open it back up, all right, those citizens are now going to be employed. So you've got that push. Then you've got the whole activist push, which we're going to see here in a sec.
Now, those talking points you just heard about the size of the application list, the financial benefits it would have for the town of Mason were brought up numerous times during that meeting. There was a very rowdy crowd inside the fire department. That's where it was held, who would shout and boo every time. There was also a crowd of dozens outside of the fire department who were chanting and booing from outside as well. Now, near the end of that meeting,
activists
officials said that a vote to agree to a contract with ICE did not pass. The crowd then dissipated, but in the minutes after that meeting ended, we then heard from the city attorney and CoreCivic, the company that runs that prison, that in fact it had passed and a contract had been signed that this will be an immigration detention facility.
Guys, bad news, didn't pass. Yay, we won. Let's go home. Wait for everybody to leave. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, we did pass that. So hammer down. Let's go. All the activists are going home to watch reruns of The View. I don't know what they're doing. This is just wild story, right? Wild story. Let's read some of the details here. Officials in a rural Tennessee town voted Tuesday to approve agreements to turn a former prison into an immigration facility operated by a private company, despite loud objections from upset residents and activists during a contentious public meeting. A 5-member board of aldermen in Mason, plus Mayor Eddie Noeman and Vice Mayor 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗪 met in a fire station garage to discuss converting the closed West Tennessee Detention Facility into an ICE detention center run by CoreCivic, who runs prisons. Also present were a dozen vocal, angry members of the public who oppose allowing ICE to house immigrants in Mason who have been taken into custody as President Donald Trump pushes for mass deportations. So you've got every step along the way where we're trying to deport or arrest the criminal illegals. There are these activists that step in. They're like, democracy is at stake. And you're like, no, they're just getting rid of the criminal illegals. Trump has touted a Florida detention facility where allegations of mistreatment of detainees have drawn lawsuits from civil rights advocates and environmental groups talking about Alligator Alcatraz. You're just going to make it hard for these guys to escape. Is that such a bad thing? No, it's not. And are there civil rights being violated? No, that's just absurd. Well, let's go ahead and make up some ridiculousness because we don't like what's going on, and the progressive Democrats are losing so badly on every front that they turn around on. It's a loss. Just boom, loss, boom, loss. Trump going in. You know, he's nationalizing the police force in Washington, D.C. Oh, we got to protest that. Did I see that there were protests of drinking dye that you add to food as a food coloring? Drinking that in pushback against MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again? I mean, and Trump sending in cops to D.C. They're protesting that. You are literally protesting the arrest and incarceration or prosecution of criminals within your own community. You're against that. You're against that. Make that make sense. It just doesn't, right? The first vote of the meeting resulted in approval for a contract with CoreCivic to resume operating the facility, which was closed in 2021 after President Joe Biden ordered the Department of Justice to stop renewing contracts with private detention facilities. What a knucklehead. What a chucklehead, Joe Biden. Worst president ever. Trump reversed that order in January. The second vote to approve an agreement with ICE also passed, even though they told the crazy Looney Tune shenanigan-laden activists, it didn't pass. I'm imagining that's how that went. Plus, I think it's pretty entertaining. Nope, didn't go. They left. They're out the door. They're gone. We did it. We won. Noeman said he wanted to reopen the shuttered prison to bring jobs and economic development to the town, which has struggled with financial problems and needs infrastructure improvements. And you need tax dollars to make that happen. Bunch of good jobs coming in? You betcha. Oh boy. The population of about 1,300, that's small. Mason is located 40 miles northeast of Memphis. When it was open, the prison was the town's largest employer and an important economic engine. Noeman, an Egyptian-American immigrant and a longtime business owner in the town, called turning the closed prison over to CoreCivic and ICE a win-win situation, which led to a cascade of loud boos by progressive, mentally challenged individuals. Yeah, I'm adding that last part because that's what always true. You got a bunch of Looney Tune people running around. Activism, so great. It's nothing personal about any immigrant, Noeman said, adding moments later that to give jobs to the people is what I'm looking for. You know what? Hey, we've got this facility. It got closed down. It's reopened. Let's make it go. Let's turn it into an ICE facility. Is that the worst? Is that absolutely terrible? No. It's not, right? At times, Noeman argued that with attendees, questioning whether they actually live in Mason and telling them, you don't know what you're talking about, because they don't know what they're talking about. They just are activists based on the idea of activism, which is, let's go ahead and protest cheese on the moon. Let's protest Teslas. Let's protest Elon Musk because he's cutting programs. Let's protest That's annoying, isn't it? Isn't it? You just want to take those people and go, stop talking. Before the meeting, board member Virginia Rivers told the Associated Press that she does not support turning the president into an ICE facility because I don't like what ICE stands for, how they treat the people. You mean removing criminal illegals from your community? You don't like that? You want to have the criminals in your community, maybe committing crimes against you. That's what you're hoping for, because the alternative is you would like what ICE stands for and how they remove criminal illegals from your midst, making your community more safe. If you have a different take on that, you're probably a Looney Tune progressive activist, and you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. During the meeting, she noted that some immigrants without criminal records are being swept up by immigration agents and separated from their families. Isn't that normal? That's just kind of how it goes. If you're here illegally, you got to go. You can't just necessarily stay. We're not doing that. We're certainly not doing that anymore. So this whole notion of, I don't like what's happening. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what you think, unfortunately. It doesn't matter. Hman isn't listening to you. She said approving the contracts would make Mason complicit in the abusive treatment of immigrants. Hey, I don't want to see anybody abused. I don't want to see anybody, I don't want to see that. But there are times when you've got so many criminal illegals in the system, some of them got to go. Some of them got to go. You can't have a country without borders. It's just simply not possible. You don't have a country then, right? You just don't. Build that wall. CoreCivic said in a statement that the ICE facility would create nearly 240 new jobs and nearly advertising openings for the detention at a pay rate of $26.50 per hour. The facility will also generate $325,000 in annual property tax revenue, which they could use to pave their streets. This is a make sense kind of deal. And $200,000 for Mason, which could be used for schools, infrastructure, and improvements in other projects. So they want to get this bad boy facility going. I don't really blame them. I mean, if there's a need, if there is a need for this, then hey, let's make it happen. Could you imagine? Could you imagine what these community meetings would look like in Seattle if all of a sudden we had a vacant ICE facility or a vacant prison can turn into an ICE facility? Oh, my word. That would just be. And that's why I say every time I turn around, Tennessee's going in the right direction and my state is just got their head up their ass. We seriously do. Just, you can't get it much further. You know what I mean? Just the services we provide help the government solve problems in ways it could not do alone. To help create safer communities by assisting with the current immigration challenges, dramatically improve the standard of care for vulnerable people, and meet other critical needs efficiently and innovatively. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is what CoreCivic said. They're talking about incarcerating people. So that's a really nice spin on incarcerating people. Now, let's be reasonable, because this isn't news for morons, news for reasonable people. CoreCivic has faced dozens of lawsuits in Tennessee. 2022, Mason reached a deal with the state of Tennessee after it attempted to take over the city's finances following years of alleged mismanagement. Well, we've heard that before, haven't we? Tiff. What was going on there? Still don't know. Some members of the public who spoke at the meeting said Mason is a majority black town with a history of being ignored and treated with disrespect. I don't want to see that, but I think the overriding push here is let's get some jobs up in here. Let's get this bad boy going. Got to scoop some people off the streets that aren't here legally. Okay, what we're doing. One of the speakers, Charles Watkins, noted that CoreCivic was the operator of the prison under its previous name, Corrections Corporation of America. How is it that we can consistently let these organizations come into black communities and then just somehow overwhelm us with the few dollars that they throw on the table as crumbs while they take the majority of the take back to wherever they came from? Watkins said. Well, unfortunately, that is because you don't have enough big enough town to build the infrastructure or the prison and then run it without the help of a much larger organization. You don't have the manpower, you don't have the jobs, you don't have the capital, you don't have any of that. So that's why that happens. If you want those jobs to come to your community, you're going to have to suck a little you-know-what and make it happen. That's just how this goes. And by that, I mean, you're going to have to politically do some decisions that may not be appropriate for some of the folks who are having moral questions on whether criminal illegals should be thrown out of communities. Tennessee's corrections agency has fined CoreCivic $44.7 million across 4 prisons from 2022 through February, including for understaffing violations. Okay, that is always a concern, right? The Brentwood, Tennessee-based company has defended itself by pointing to industry-wide problems with hiring and keeping workers. I don't know if you can believe this or not. People don't want to work at prisons. People are lazy. The generations coming up are lazy. They want to, show their goods on OnlyFans and make millions of dollars. They don't want to go into a prison and have to work a tough job, taking care of people, cleaning things, guarding things that, stuff going on. Security, operations managers, all that good stuff that it would take to run a prison. They don't want to do that. So nobody wants these jobs. They're like, it's okay. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna create an app and I'm gonna make millions of dollars and then I'm gonna be an influencer. In the meantime, I'm gonna do a little OnlyFans and this is just what we're doing. But hell to the no, I'm not gonna be a prison guard. No, there just isn't that attitude anymore that, hey, to make a decent living, it's going to suck because I'm going to be dealing with prisoners all day long, but this is what we're doing. So, and they had 22 inmate deaths. Okay, that's not good. At 4 Tennessee prisons and 2 jails from 16 to 24. All right, okay, in 2016, 2024. Not great, but we also don't have a lot of details on that. So, was it negligence? Don't really know. This community, their major factor is, do we reopen this bad boy, start taking in some money, but then have the moral quagmire of, going to have to deal with the criminal illegals. We're going to be taking those folks in instead of people being incarcerated here throughout the state, prisoners there. Boy, prison is a big business, isn't it? You look at the numbers on incarcerating people. Big dollars in it. Big dollars in it. And yet we've been going down this road of closing all these prisons. When are we going to reverse that and just start incarcerating people? I think you're going to see that. Like what we've got going on here, Republican states will do it. Democrat states will continue to pull back. Democrat states will continue to get worse and worse as far as public safety goes. But they're going to have to work that out on their own because they can't seem to recognize that when you don't follow basic principles of public safety, like when you don't have enough cops, when you defund the police, when you demonize policing as a profession, when you don't arrest and prosecute and incarcerate criminals, things aren't going to go your way. And those are communities that are harder to sell homes in than other communities that value public safety, that value the thin blue line. Pretty basic stuff. It's not that hard to figure out. But in these big blue progressive cities, it's like, what is it going to take to wake you folks up? I don't think there is anything because I think it is a mental disability. If we just keep trying this over and over again, if we just spend more money on housing, if we just do some more harm reduction, we'll get there. We'll get there and we'll make this better. And in reality, they're just making it worse. And these cities are getting worse. So, hey, let's give Mason, Tennessee the opportunity to open up their prison. We'll house some folks that aren't here in the country legally. We'll do that. How about that? Well, we'll see. I will keep you posted on this one. It's interesting. I don't do a ton of stuff out of Tennessee because Tennessee doesn't have a lot of failing public policy the way that we talk about here on News for Reasonable People. I mean, it's really got to fail. And, Portland, San Fran, Seattle, LA, Chicago, they got enough public policy failure for everybody. And that's what we talk about. All right. That's it for me. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We release 2 videos Monday through Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Make sure you're got that notification bell, get all that content. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thank you in advance. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.